All right. So you guys tell me. I did not watch the game. I do not intend to watch the game. I really didn't even check social media. Um, what do you guys want to talk about?
Um,
I'm gonna guess Nico Jackson. That seemed to be a
Is this a shit on Nico podcast?
oh yeah. If there was ever a pod that he deserved it, it's this one.
Also, I found a random stat. I took a screenshot of it. I think it's actually quite hysterical.
Are you gonna give it to us now, or are you gonna surprise us with it?
I'll give it to you now.
Okay.
Nicholas Jackson has converted just 32% of his big chances this season, ranking him 25th out of 26 players from Europe's top five leagues with at least 30 shots in all competitions this season. The only other player with a worse conversion rate is Darwin Núñez.
Okay. Counter. Europe's top five leagues. So you're talking about 26 players from 105 teams,
Mm-hmm.
125 teams.
But
Yeah.
that was
No.
30 shots in all but the for me it's the thing is the big chances. Like yeah, I understand, but it's one of those, yeah, he throws 94 miles an hour on a day that starts with S and when the wind is 17 miles an hour. I get it's a stat like that, but for me it was the big chances, not total chances, just the big chances. So probably where the XG would be one, like should score, no questions asked. I don't know what they define big chance, but it was very evident on Man City that he lives up to that stat.
I will fight. I will fight. Bring that up on the pod. I will fight you on that stat because I think that's actually a flattering stat for Nico Jackson.
Okay.
And we'll see what the Seltzer
I
has to say
I
in
I, I
45
just
minutes.
say I think it's very interesting, that stat. I'm not putting all my eggs in that basket. It was just something I found interesting, and it was appropriately timed, shall we say.
How was Gallagher on the left wing?
Terrible.
As
He's not a
as,
left winger.
as he would be. I wouldn't expect I anytime he's on the left, I don't expect anything good out of him.
Was
I,
Noni
I
worth the start? Was Noni worth the start on the right?
I would have done away with. See, I would have played Gallagher for Enzo, same way we lined up against Everton, and then I would have had Mudryk on the left. Personally,
So
or Raz, but like someone, I just don't think Connor does anything good there.
okay.
yeah, I hate him on the left. He's useless on the left.
Because I was watching the match with Carolyn. I was like, look at where Noni is on the pitch right now, and look at where Connor is on the pitch right now, and tell me that they're playing the same position, just mirrored of each other. It's not even close. Where Noni is, like Noni's here, and Connor is like here. We're going this way, right? Like
Mhm.
it's that he just hovers in this, right? He just likes to hover in that area. Oh, do we have a heat chart? Let me see where his heat
I'm
chart
looking
is.
at him right now on who scored. Yeah,
Heat maps.
Connor's heat map is like back where Kukurea is.
Yeah, this is exactly my point. Like, how do you do player heat maps?
Um, if you're on the game, go to heat maps,
Yeah.
and then if you hit the drop down under the team name, it will let you select a player. You got to unselect everybody and then select a player.
Heat maps. Ah, there it is. Thank you.
Like I was confused when I saw the lineup. But again, I haven't watched it, but when I saw the lineup earlier today, I'm like, well, why wouldn't Gallagher play centrally and let him harass City's midfield? Because it looked like both left wingers were healthy, Raz and Mudrik.
Huh? They're both on the bench. There were two of our three attacking subs. I'm not counting Carney Chukwuemeka in that, but it was David Washington and those two are 3 attacking substitutes. That's it. We're so hamstrung, pun intended. Like we are so handicapped in who we can bring on this match in any match. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, but I don't know. It's the same thing like when was the left wing or left back earlier in the year where we had Chilwell and Kukurea healthy and he'd throw I can't even
Levi
remember.
Colwell.
Yeah, Levi Colwell back there. Like why? Why are you doing that? Just so again, this is me looking at the result and looking at the stats and all that. No social media, no watching the match. It looks like a positive when you consider this team in context, this match, this result. Obviously, loss is terrible, but you know, again, they went toe to toe with City. They had a lot of big chances. But to me, and I beating a dead horse here, it looks like the manager fucked it up. But I understand Nico Jackson missed a lot of big chances. I heard that from you guys. So I understand. I understand Pochettino can't put the ball away. But
I mean, he missed
the lineup and the
gimmies.
subs look fucking terrible.
He missed gimmies. Like that's the problem. He missed
4 or 5.
bad
4 or 5, I would say.
3, and I'll steal my own thunder. 3 like very, very good chances. One that he didn't get to register an XG on because he didn't take the shot. You can't have an XG when you don't shoot. so
When he went around the keeper.
Yeah, so he goes around the keeper. He's got an empty net. I saw it from a different angle, and I about puked because he had an empty net, and he passes it, and the pass gets picked off. Like he registered 0 XG on a breakaway. 1v keeper breakaway. Registered 0 XG. It's baffling. Like if he puts any shot on goal, it's going to be an XG of like 0.7. Like it's just ridiculous. And then he had one save that was that same thing, right? 1v keeper, and he limps it to the right of the keeper within his wingspan. See, it's funny because the missed goals I become accustomed to. The attitude and the conceitedness on the pitch and the yelling at his players for not reading his mind on certain plays and the getting pissed off for no reason stuff and the just like flopping, all of it. He had a bad attitude out there, man. He was a piss boy. He was like all just everywhere. He was yelling everywhere. He was flopping everywhere, man. I was pissed off at him all match. I was not happy with him. And the goal stuff didn't help anything, obviously. Like if he scores, you go, okay, I can live with some of the antics, but it wasn't just that.
I got a theory on his turn of attitude the last couple of weeks. I'll bring that up later. All right. Well, before we record an entire pod here, before starting the pod,
we can just cut and paste that. Yeah.
I was thinking about just doing that, but now we'll get going.
I think it's only fitting to start this episode off just with a big, deep sigh, because, oh man.
Oh, you are teeing this up so good.
Enzo to me looks like a more agile, basically a young Cesc Fabregas.
It's a Rolls Royce, man. Thiago Silva.
Messi is the Jorginho of international football. That was a dumb take.
The flag stays down!
All right, welcome to another episode of the Flag Stays Down podcast. Happy Earth Day, happy 420 edition. I don't know, it's a semifinal loss and seemingly a rough rough weekend for the boys in blue. But we'll start with the boys on the pod first. Parker, how you doing?
All things considered, pretty dang good. Um, Despite my dislike of what I saw on Saturday morning. All things considered, good. I had a busy work week, but then I had a weekend where I did nothing and actually did pretty much nothing. It was glorious. It was everything I wanted it to be. And yeah, it's the start of the NBA playoffs as well as the NHL playoffs. So it's just a good time of the year where there's 4 games of basketball back to back yesterday and 4 or 5 today, something like that. So Bucks won, Nuggets won. So getting to watch some good basketball, and then the Avalanche are playing as well. So it's been fun to just kind of camp out on the couch and not really do a whole lot. I feel a bit guilty with myself because usually I try to balance it and be semi-productive and then do nothing. But I went full at it this time. So no regrets, and we'll proceed on with what will be a fairly hectic work week coming up. So I just needed to take a step back and not do much. So that was me. It was the antithesis of your weekend, Collins. Put it that way. But I'll let you tell that story. Matt, how you doing, man?
Tired. Long work week. Including working over the weekend and late on Friday night. Just unfortunately, our large project timeline is creeping closer and closer, so it's just gonna be more and more crazy. But oh well, that's the job, right? But no, we're doing good. I had to put on my dad hat this weekend. Just had the little guy for most of the weekend as my wife was working third shift. So that was an adventure. So running on limited sleep, shall we say. But yeah, honestly, probably the highlight was I cut my grass for the first time this season. So it was a big day. I put away the snow blower as well. In Wisconsin, it's a very gutsy thing to do. Especially for me, because ever since I've owned my house, every time I put away the snowblower, it seems to snow like 2 weeks later. But I made the executive decision today that if I'm cutting the grass, the snowblower is going away. So did that. Yard looks great. Wife didn't appreciate it, but I was like, hey, it needs to be done. But no, it's all's good. She's tired as well, so we're all just kind of limping through the weekend and just trying to get back to some sort of normalcy here. But as all things, it's Sunday night and we're here. Collins, how
I
was your
did I did get 4 or 5 inches of snow this weekend. So
nice?
I know it was kind of crazy, and it doesn't stick anymore, right? Because it's still relatively warm, and I think we're getting to the 70s this week or tomorrow or whatever. But it is funny when it does kind of come through like that. Sorry, Counts, you go ahead.
Man, fuck snow. That's what it felt like on Saturday along the lake in Milwaukee to the Brew City half marathon. I finished. That was a big accomplishment for me. I got to about mile 10 and something in my shoe was making my foot go numb, which was throwing me off. So at that point, I wasn't so much worried about time. I was just worrying about finishing. So I was happy with that. Failed to hydrate. I keep saying that. That's the company here in Wisconsin. Hydrate is what I failed to do. Afterwards, because the CBD store was having a 42% off sale. It's got some seltzers and coffee and all that good stuff. And woke up this morning and felt like the end of a 28-day bender. We'll put it that way. Head was exploding. My whole body was inflamed. My knees are still giving me crap. But Matt, just like you, got that first grass cut of the year in. Oh, it was a good day today. Wife went and picked out some plants and flowers and played some baseball in the backyard. Oh, it was a great weekend. And I didn't get to watch the Chelsea game, which allowed me to have a great weekend. So cheers to that. All right, well, boys, like I said, I didn't watch it. Honestly, I haven't even checked social media. I haven't seen a thing on it. I want you guys to fill me in. What are your reactions from the game?
Where do we go from here? Just that's the overarching question. Um, I know we're gonna hit on the glaring issue, at least the glaring issue of the City game, but the broader question is where do we go from here, right? Um, you know, I think right now myself and Parker at least have serious questions of what's going on up top. Um, just a very strange couple of performances. Just kind of on and off the pitch. Just some of the antics and stuff like that. Um, we're going back to this. Why are we playing some people out of position? Um, you know, why aren't other people starting who are fit? When this would be a good opportunity for them. Yeah, it's kind of just kind of like me, right? We're just kind of limping to the end of the season, right? I'm limping to the end of the weekend. We're kind of limping to the end of the season. Um, yeah, it just kind of feels like that's where we're at right now. Obviously, another deep cup run um comes up short, which is obviously the last thing we all wanted. We were definitely putting a lot of eggs into that basket. But I think more telling it's just a sign that we're not ready yet. I think that's kind of the big takeaway is we're just not ready yet. Um, but all in all, like it was just a tough watch. Just a lot of questions, a lot of head scratching moments, and um, again, you have to remember a lot of these players that are out there are kids compared to all of us, right? Um, they're kids. They're going to make mistakes. It just happens that we make almost the biggest mistakes at the worst times. And I think that City match was kind of even more evidence to help kind of back that theory. But yeah, definitely a tough one. Parks.
Yeah, it was probably the most frustrated I've been this season watching this team. And not for necessarily the reasons that Matt kind of outlined. I thought we played fine. I didn't think we played bad. We played how we play, which is uh, somewhat chaotic, um, create chances, don't capitalize on chances. Uh, ironically, I thought there was more positives than negatives watching this match, which isn't going to be the popular opinion that a lot of people talk about. But I think it was probably our best defensive back four performance in like 3 or 4 months. Like by far, and Petrovic had a decent game. I thought his distribution and some of his decision making was a little sketch at times, and we kind of played into some dangerous positions there unnecessarily. Aside from that, I thought those five played pretty damn outstanding. So I tip my cap to them. I thought our midfield played well. I agree. Conor Gallagher played out of the position, and then Nico didn't convert the chances that he made. Uh, I didn't check the XG stats of this game, but we created a good amount, and we created a lot better chances than City did, at least through the first like 75, 80 minutes of that match. City, all they really had going for them was like some Kevin De Bruyne floated balls to the back post that a couple of times were offsides and a couple of times led to not much out of it. But it's a City team that, when I put it in context, they went 120 minutes with Real Madrid, lost on PKs just the Wednesday prior. It's a situation where they're tired and probably pretty pissed off about that. Um, they didn't look like Manchester City to me. They didn't look like the same City that we're used to. So if there was ever a City team that we could beat or go toe to toe with, it was this one. But Alvarez didn't do shit. Grealish didn't do shit. Foden didn't do much. Silva had the goal, but aside from the goal, didn't do much. De Bruyne did De Bruyne things, but like they didn't play great. And I think some of it was we caused them some problems. We caused some threats. We provided good counterattacking threats against them. And Collins, we talked about it on Monday when we potted, but like it wasn't even the ones that we thought it was going to be. It wasn't just like those 3-on-3 kind of sprints. Like we built up relatively well and had some decent possession counterattacks where it wasn't just a pure smash and grab counterattack. It was more of a kind of build through possession and 4-5 pass counterattacks that lead to some decent things. So I say all of that to frame my pure frustration of how this match ended up. God, did we have a chance to take it? We had so many opportunities to take it to them and beat a team that did not deserve to win and go, play a final at Wembley. They probably looked themselves in the mirror and said the same thing. Like, we didn't deserve to win this match, but we weren't good enough to take it from them. And that's what really frustrated me. You don't really get open door city very often where you have the ability to walk through that door. And we got it. And we weren't able to walk through that door. Matt, I love what you said though. It does prove that this team isn't ready today. It showed a lot of the reasons why they could be ready one day, and they're just not ready today.
Well, so just from my step back perspective, which is consistent with my perspective on all episodes of this podcast. I came away looking at the result and looking at the stats today as okay. Like that's pretty positive for when you look at, again, the average age of the team. It's probably Thiago Silva's last big game for us. And you take him out of that lineup and, ooh, man, you're looking young. You've got crazy amount of injuries. I don't understand Conor Gallagher on the left wing, but they're talking about Enzo having basically season-ending surgery for hernia. You've got Axel Disasi until this weekend playing just about every single minute of every single game. A lot of guys playing a lot of minutes, and you went toe to toe with the winners of the treble last year. The team that has won the Premier League, 8 out of the last 9 years. I mean, regardless of who was out there for City, you're still facing Manchester City. There's something to that. It's a Pep Guardiola team. And for the age and inexperience, goddamn, he made a cup final, made a cup semifinal. You still have Europe as an option in the league. So I don't think it was a bad loss. It was just kind of one where I looked at my phone. I was like, okay, that makes sense. And then didn't pay attention to it again. God, that was hard for me to say.
The biggest thing for me is we talk about how young this team is, but we also talk about how good they are. And we went toe to toe with City twice with this same team. It shouldn't be a surprise. The issue is when we go up against like a Brentford or a Burnley and start shitting the bed. That's when the issues show up. Like, we know this team can hang. The biggest issue I have is that all three of us, I think, whether we know it or not, we sometimes kind of default to the age as like a crutch to kind of soften the blow, whether we know it or not. They've had a full season now. There's no acclimation period, anything like that. Like, we're at the end of the season. For at least the midfield. The midfield has been relatively consistent. The back line has been somewhat consistent. The front has been kind of a grab bag, but some players have been out there consistently. And still we have these ebbs and flows of good performances, bad performances. How Nico can score a hat trick against Tottenham, and then all of a sudden he can't find the back of the net to save his life or his haircut for that matter. It's and it frustrates me because I think this way too. Like, yes, they're a young team, but they have the experience now. Like they know what's expected of them. They know how they should perform. They know what they need to do. They know what this level is now. The fact that they still have these huge dips in performance and not just like, maybe span it out a couple months or so. No, it's game after game. We don't know what Chelsea is going to show up game after game. We can put in a fantastic performance and then we can end up shitting the bed. There's got to be more consistency, and these guys now have played long enough with this team. A year is a lot of time together. You start to develop things, develop patterns with different individuals, stuff like that. And it's still not connecting. So I think it was a bad game for the fact that we had a lot of people that we would normally see on a team sheet, with the exception of recently Thiago Silva and Trev, and that back line played extremely well. Everybody else we know, we expect to see them out there. But why can't it come together? That's the problem I have. Is it just we don't know who's going to show up, who's going to have a shitty day, so on and so forth. That's why I think it's a bad loss, because Parker, like you said, all the positives that we had, but it's the size of the negatives that always outweigh the positive. Specifically, like the 5 missed chances from Nico. Like
So,
those are glaring. If one of those, and it again, it goes back to that whole idea around like, it changes the mindset. If we go up 1-0 early, that could change the game dramatically. Momentum shifts our way. If he were to get 2, again, that changes a lot of things. And we are not a great team when it comes to A, trying to close out a game, and B, trying to play from behind. We're not a great team doing that. We throw a lot of things forward, but it's still the end product that we still lack. But anyways, for me, it was a tough loss. Just kind of where we've been over the last month, at least pulling some results, maybe not the ones we wanted, but some results. And then to essentially, once again, shit the bed on a big stage against a team that we should have beaten, a weakened team that we should have beaten without Holland, mind you. And we still can't get it done, even though we had most of what we would consider our starting 11 out there. It's tough.
brutal, man. It's just like everything was set up for us to take it. Everything was pointing at it for us to take it, and it turns out to be an L. Recently when I was at work and I had a few minutes to kill, I looked at our form from the first half of the season to where we are today, and I'll bring it up when I'm in a better mood. So, but the form of where we were in the first half of the season, so the first 19 matches versus where we are today, it's actually quite good. Our form has improved drastically in the second half of the season. That's not including some of the cup matches, and so you take those out because I'm just looking at Premier League, first half versus second half. The cup stuff has been kind of a high point for a lot of the season. Some of our better performances have been in cups, and then you have this one. I don't trust this team up 2 goals, down 2 goals, tied. The funny thing about it is, if you look at United's result today against Coventry, they were up and they gave away a pretty big lead as well. And so United feels a lot like us in a lot of ways, where no lead is safe, and they have the ability to play Jekyll and Hyde in the same match or against different teams, whatever. So fall down to your competition level, things like that. Yeah, this one just set me up for having very high emotions because winning the FA Cup would have fixed a lot of things for me with this team. Winning the FA Cup is a big deal, and it would have been something you can point to as notable progress of at least we won the FA Cup, and we can build off of that. Probably would have saved Poch's job, but without it, and where we've been waffling between in the league, it's just going to be even. What did we finish last year? 10th, 9th, 11th, something like that. 11th. If we finish 8th, it's going to be show as progress, sure, but it's not going to be enough. They got to do better than that.
So, Parker, I'm glad you brought up the form, because that was gonna be one of my counters to Matt. Is that we are riding that upward trend, but I think we can lean on age with this team as a crutch, because yes, they are young, and yes, they now have a season of experience. But you look at most other teams, if they've got guys under the age of 23 or whatever, it's like, I think when I looked up, it was like 31% of their squad.
Mhm.
Ours is at about 85%.
Right.
So we don't have that veteran experience. Thiago Silva doesn't seem to be that veteran experience that we all thought he was, kind of guiding this squad. The other thing I found interesting when I kind of deep dived earlier this week when I was bored at work, was that most of the young players, so under 23s, that we consider to be good prospects, like exciting Premier League players, have at least 35,000 or 3,500 minutes in a top 5 European league. I think when I looked, we have 4 out of our very young squad have that. Connor's one of them. I think Enzo just hit that mark. And Caicedo is another one. I forgot who the 4th was, but our guys don't. Yes, they've played, but they don't have that top 5 league experience. They don't have, and you can see it week in and week out. They don't have the experience of playing a Burnley. There's a difference between playing a relegation team in the Premier League and playing a relegation team in Portugal or Switzerland or the Ukraine. Mm-hmm. And so it's going to take probably through the end of the season and another preseason for these guys to fully get it. And I think you also have to throw in, and it's another crutch, but one that unfortunately we have to lean on, and it's the injuries, right? A lot of these guys are going to get those minutes by the end of the year because they have to get those minutes. We're missing out on Christopher Nkunku. We're missing out on Levi Colwill, Reece James. There's Leslie Ugochukwu, my guy. There are some big names and squad players who could be filling a role, but these guys are gassed right now. The guys who are out on the pitch are gassed because they have to be. So, Matt, you mentioned Nicholas Jackson. Let's just get to it. Let's rip that Band-Aid off. He missed chances. Why?
Because he's not that good. That's the only thing I can come up with right now. When sorry, let me clarify this. He's not that good right now. He is Senegalese Timo Werner. He will make the runs. He will stay onside a little bit more than Timo. And I will say, at least recently, he's become more of that. These chances that he's missing. Yes, he's young. Yes, it's his first year in the Premier League. Understood. But when you're 1v1 with a keeper multiple times in a game, and you can't even put anything on target, that's bad. Like I don't want to absolutely shit on him. I want to try and find something good. The only thing good I can think of, and Collins, I know Nico is kind of your soft spot. So when we were in the group chat and Parker said, there's nothing you can defend him on. I was actually thinking of ways to defend him that you would think of.
Good, let's
The,
go. I got like 4 or 5 lined up here.
the
Let's go.
only thing I have, the only thing I have to defend him in this match against City, I'll look at it just at this last match. He made the right runs at the right time. I wholeheartedly, he put himself in great positions. He made the right runs at the right time. That's about it. I'm not trying to like really beat the shit out of him, but that's really the only positive I can say for him in this City game. I don't know what's going on with his finishing. I don't know if it takes 2 weeks to dye your hair and he's just missed training or something and not finishing goals in practice. I don't know. It's become a problem, the amount of missed chances. Again, we rate strikers based on their goals, right? Based on their production. It should be a lot better than where he is right now. And not to say that right now isn't bad for his first season. It's not. But when you look at the opportunities that he's had that he has not capitalized on, he arguably should have been our first 20 goal scorer and not Cole Palmer.
See, now I'm
So
gonna claim.
there's a lot there's still a lot there that's missing. And I think the more that it happens, the more frustrated we become. And by we, I'm saying me and Chelsea fans, the more frustrated we become, right? It's just one of those things. You want to be the guy, I'm all for it. You're hungry, you want to do all this stuff, you want that responsibility, great, but you have to finish. And right now he is just in whatever slump he's in, where it is, the misses are glaring. And it's not to say, oh, he's hitting the woodwork or some stuff like that. Like sometimes he's in the City match 1v1 with the keeper, couldn't even get a shot off. There's got to be something. And right now, it's frustrating to watch him because we know he in the season, he's been able to put the ball away. What is going on right now? And in big matches like this, where you only needed a goal, maybe two, and you easily could have had three, possibly four, and it doesn't happen. Like, that's what we need. And can he get there? I hope so. Right now, it is just not clicking.
See, and I'm gonna claim recency bias on that because I'm gonna go back through the tapes here,
Mhm.
and after a season and a half, season 3/4, 2 seasons of Timo Werner, we were
Mhm.
praising him for doing all the right things. He just can't score, but
Mhm.
oh well, like he does the right things. It looks good, Mr. Eye Test. Jackson scores goals. Yeah, he didn't score in this one. Not every striker scores in every goal or scores in every game. Look at Julian Alvarez. Can't do shit. Nicholas Jackson is just like I said with the whole crutch thing. He is a victim of injuries and poor squad planning. We don't have another number 9. Since he has come back from AFCON, Nicholas Jackson has only not started in one game. He came on in that game as a sub. It was Wolves, his first game back, played 27 minutes. Outside of that, he has played 93% of Chelsea's minutes. Started in every single game because we loaned out our only other striker. Oh, I'm sorry. We have David Washington, who Poach says we can't forget about it and is valuable to the squad, but doesn't play. And we, and Lukaku is out in Italy scoring goals, and any other striker we have out there pretty much. But Nicholas Jackson, just like anybody else, needs a break. He's a guy who has to play every single minute. It does not surprise me that as this season winds down, as we get to the grind of the season here, that a guy playing and running his ass off for 90 minutes every single game, 93% of every single game, is going to get tired and is going to start making those mental errors because his body can't keep up. We know Chelsea's medical team is just top notch, right? And so for a guy to be running and playing as much as this, his body's going to be breaking down in some way. I'm surprised he's out on the pitch. I'm surprised he's not been in season-ending surgery at this point. It's one match. It's bound to happen. I don't see what. Yes, I see what the big deal is in the micro, but the macro, he's doing fine for a 22-year-old who's played 53 top flight games in his career.
And I think we've fairly given him his praise throughout a lot of the Chelsea matches that he's played. One, I don't think his finishing had anything to do with fatigue today or yesterday. He was in the right spots. He made the right runs. He got the ball one-on-one and he couldn't find the net. That's not fatigue. He did all of the hard things first to get into that position. And then what happened was right here between the 2 ears, he couldn't figure it out. He's in his own head. And sure, that might, fatigue might play some role in that, but I think there's a bigger thing going on here. I think there's a bigger thing at play, which is he's playing like pissed off, and not in a good way, not to like prove his haters wrong or anything. He's playing pissed off, and he looked pissed off out there. He looked like he had a really bad attitude for almost the entire match. So one thing I haven't seen Nico Jackson do a lot of is dive. He usually works pretty hard to stay on his feet and works through contact. And when he goes down, it's usually legitimate. Saw him dive multiple times, throw his hands up and kick and scream on the ground. The ref goes, "Hey," he taps him on the shoulder, "Get up." And he gets up. Haven't seen him do that all season long, right? But he's throwing little tantrums out there. Enzo played a ball to him. He plays a pretty audacious back heel. Enzo didn't know that he was supposed to do that. And he's just like, "Come on, where are you? Where are you?" He's yelling at his teammates. And it's just like, it's embarrassing to watch because everyone else is like, calm down, dude. Like, it's a big match, yeah, but just calm down. Like, he's just playing like a pissed off teenager. Just got his license. And he wants to go fast. He wants to do all the things. It's something going on between his 2 ears, and that's all finishing is. That's all like striker mentality is when you get the ball, you got a split second to decide, do you have the instincts to put it away? And he's thinking about it, and he's thinking about all of his critics probably when he gets the ball in those situations. And maybe he has too much time on the ball, maybe, but whatever it is, man, he's not capitalizing it. So trust me, I've had my ups and downs with Nico. I think he's been a lot better. He's doing a lot of the right things, and he does score goals. He is outperforming a Timo Werner because he actually is putting the ball in the back of the net. Granted, 3 of those were tap-ins, but against Tottenham, which looked really good. But joking aside, like, I think he's had a pretty good season. He did not have a good game, and it wasn't just the finishing for me. It was a whole mess of things that were going on, and like I said, I watched the game with my wife, and she was just like baffled that he was our top striker. She was just beside herself, like, this kid is the best striker that we can put out there. He didn't look good at all. So I know you didn't watch the match, Collins, so I know you can't like defend a lot of those things. I think if you saw some of those things, because I said it in the chat, and Matt, I think you agreed with me, it just was a bad look for him. It was just not professional, show your age kind of a moment for a kid who didn't have everything kind of clicking for him in that game. Again, if he scores, it kind of puts all the comments away. We can deal with the antics if you score 2 goals, 3 goals. But if you can't, and then you do all the other extracurricular stuff, you start to get under my skin.
So I've got a theory on the mental part of it and the attitude part of it. Um, his the diving, we'll say that, and then the attitude towards teammates. I noticed a change probably a couple weeks ago where I noticed a dive and I was like, oh, that was weird. Um, and then you add the penalty incident, and then you add, but at least what I heard from you guys happened in the city game. He scored his 10th goal in the league, what, 4 or 5 weeks ago now? I think he has a bonus clause to get to 15 because he made a comment after the whole penalty thing of like, oh yeah, like I want to get out there, score as many goals as I can. Like, if I can get out there and score a penalty, like I want to do that. I want to score 15 goals. I think he's got a bonus, and I think he wants his money. And I feel like I have a feeling he thinks his teammates are not allowing him to do that. And I'm not saying that that's right or wrong before Matt blasts me for that. You got to make your chances. You gotta make those big chances, and I'm sure Matt will drop a stat on us in a moment.
The teammates did everything that they could to get him to score.
I'm
They
not
put him in the best chances ever.
I'm not defending that. I'm just trying to think of like what's
I know.
going through his mind.
I know. It's just like the baffling part is like they did everything they could to get him to score. They put him that ball from Cole Palmer after a Nico save. Like Nico shoots on target, ball gets saved. Cole Palmer runs out, gets it, and puts this dime of a pass right on his forehead, and he just flubs it to the keeper. Like they tried desperately hard to get him that bonus, man. It couldn't happen. Sorry.
It's weird for me, and I know I'm sure you guys talked about this last week, but and Collins, what I'm gonna ask probably helps fuel kind of what you just said. What the fuck was he doing trying to take the penalty? Let's be honest about that. What in the hell was he even trying to do? Thinking about taking a penalty. If he was thinking about money, guess what? Odds are he probably would have missed a penalty. And then he would have complained again and been pissed off at somebody else. It's annoying to see this because he looks like a striker who is just desperate for anything. The diving, he's desperate for a call. I think he's going back to that. He's desperate to get a penalty so that he can actually have a claim to take it over Cole Palmer. If we want to get into like what he's thinking, he's probably jealous of Cole Palmer at this point. Like it's just so it's very weird seeing him switch like this. And like that's honestly, I don't argue or disagree with your theory. I think it's probably very likely. I'm just wondering what else the hell is going on in his head. That's the whole thing right now is we know he can do it. I can vividly recall almost all of Nicholas Jackson's misses, and I really don't remember any of his goals. Granted, Collins, I know what you're going to say. Oh, maybe I have an agenda against Nico Jackson. I personally don't, but if you have come out and claim when everybody was shitting on him, midway through the year, right? When all of Chelsea Twitter was calling for his head, he's like, I love the talking. Like, keep it coming. Like, yeah. Well, you have to back it up if you're going to talk some shit like that. I don't think that he has yet. And when he gets his chances to shut everybody up, he just gives them more shit to talk about because he's not producing. He's doing the right things. He's getting in the right positions. Parker, I like what you said. It's between his ears. That's where everything is. And I don't know how to fix that. But at this point, throw on David Washington. I'll take a kid a younger kid to go out there and just see what the hell he can do. Where's Mason Burstow? Is he still on the squad? Is he somewhere around? Like, if he's not getting it done, somebody else has to. At this point in the season, we have what, 6 games left? 5? Something like that. We're not playing for anything. Argument could be made, maybe Europe, but if we lose, then we're kind of out of it. Start the run on some of these other people, and Collins, to your point, give some of these guys a break, right? If Enzo needs to go do his thing with whatever surgery, shut him down for the season. Get Kaisede out there, let him go run around. Get Carney back up to fitness, right? Give Raz his final send off before we ship him somewhere else. Get some of these other youth kids out there. Get them up to speed on what's going on, but at least give them a chance. Because right now, Nico's had a lot of chances, as you mentioned, 93% of all minutes played, something to that effect, Collins. Right, 93% of all minutes played. So he's earned a rest. I'm not doubting that one bit. Boy's worked his ass off. But to everybody's point, and also contradicting my previous point, and we all know I'm a big Timo fan. I loved his hustle. I loved his work. He never quit. Nico kind of dials it back every now and again, which is fine, understandable. He's played so much. Give him a break. Throw somebody else on. Not saying shut him down for the season, but give him time to think and just understand, okay, ball goes in the back of the net. Got it. Just give him a chance to just do something else and let some of these other guys try to hop in. He's had more than enough opportunities to do that this year. And maybe that small little break is what he needs.
Yeah, because Matt, I know David Washington is again a very important part of this squad and a guy that we can't forget about.
Thank you for acknowledging that.
David Washington, for comparison, again, Nico Jackson has played 1,168 minutes since he came back from AFCON. David Washington has 11.
It's more than I thought.
Throw him out there.
If you include his first half of the season where he played only one other game, he has 25 minutes this season.
Sweet.
He's moving up in the world.
But I do want to sidetrack real quick because Matt, you made an interesting comment about being jealous of Cole Palmer. Who keeps writing "you're a shit player" on Cole Palmer's hat trick ball? Do we have any theories?
Nico Jackson.
Watch.
Matt, there's part of me that thinks it's Nico Jackson, but another part of me thinks it's Malo Gusto. I don't know if you guys saw after the last hat trick, and Palmer and Gusto were walking on the pitch after the match, and the refs give Palmer the ball. Palmer turns to Gusto. He's like, "Here, you want this?" And Gusto's like, "Get the fuck out of here." I think those two have a weird relationship, so I'm all in on that. But yeah, I just saw that this week. I thought it was a neat little thing.
One thing that's kind of funny is we do have 7 matches left, and we have a game in hand on Newcastle and United, and we are 3 points behind 6th place. Now, if we win our game in hand, we go into 7th because I think Newcastle has us on goal differential, unless we win by 20 or something like that. But we are dangerously now. There's a big jump from 6th to 5th. Tottenham has 60 points. Newcastle has 50 points. So there's a big jump there, but to get into 6th is achievable. Very, very achievable. If we win our game in hand, we're level set with 6 games to play.
If we beat Arsenal on Tuesday by 7 goals, we're in 6th.
There you go. Everyone would love to see Arsenal lose by 7 goals. Let's be honest.
So I'll pose the question then to Matt. Parker, this is the same question I posed to you last week. what secures Pochettino's job? Because he's on a 2-year contract. And we're about at the end of year one, and I don't think you can go into a season with a lame duck manager. What secures a successful season? What saves his job this year? Now that we can't qualify for Europe except through the league.
I don't think it's a question that his job isn't secure for next season. I personally don't think it's even a question. I think the board has made it relatively clear that it is going to be a project. And I think in order for it to kind of show any significant change, right? I think any significant change, like if they went in with the thought that Chelsea was going to be in the Champions League this year, I think that would have been unrealistic. But if they go in with the expectation, first year, we're getting all these young kids that you're not going to have the ability to really use until like 3-4 years down the road. Like time to develop, things like that. I honestly think more of what they're going to be gauging is probably everybody that's not wearing a Chelsea jersey right now. I think they're kind of going to be looking at the project as a whole, where they loaned out to the right people. If not, where they brought back, did we send them out to the right place? I think some of that, who'd you keep, who'd you sell, like players that were brought in, things like that. Like it's hard to argue against, yeah, we brought in Cole Palmer. Yeah, it's kind of hard to argue against that one, right? Like it's a very solid piece of business. Disasi has been also very solid. So it's kind of hard to argue that. Yes, the results aren't maybe what was expected, but I don't think there's any risk of Poach not being the manager at the start of next season, regardless of how we finish in the table.
Wow. Okay. So we drop the next 7. Pochettino is still the manager next year.
I don't see us dropping the next 7. So,
Well,
pardon
okay,
my
just as an
optimism.
example, right?
Yes. So I mean that brings up a totally different question if we lose all 7. But if we take that out of it, let's say we keep our current run of form, right? We keep drawing, we win one, we lose one, stack that however you want. I think Pochettino has enough. What's the word I want to look for? I think he has enough at his disposal to make the argument that his job should be safe until next year. I think he has enough to defend himself to the board if it came to that, regardless of how we finish in the table.
And Parker, I know our conversation last week included, the FA Cup, but
It did.
now with that not being an issue, has your opinion changed?
With that being a bigger issue, is I think what you meant to say, because they didn't win. I was just trying to look it up, and do you recall offhand, Collins, how many points we ended up with last year in the league?
No, I want to say it was like 40. We're like 8 points above where we were last year.
At the same point in the season?
At this same point. So I think we finished on like 41 or something like that.
Because I mean, we're sitting at 47 points right now with 7 games to play.
44.
We finished with 44 last year. So we finished in 11th with 44 points. I think you can demonstrate clear and objective improvement year on year by sitting at 47. Even if we lose the next 7 games, we're still sitting better than we did. And then if my memory is right, again, I looked this up, but like for the first half of the year, our wins, draws, losses, and then this versus the second half of the year, wins, draws, losses. If we win one of our next 7 games, we guarantee that we will be at least the same level of points that we had in the first half of the season, with then 6 games to sort of add to that number. So we're 1 win away. So if we said another way, if we win 1 and lose 6, we had identical first half and second halves of the season. So if we win 1, or if we win 4, draw 2, and lose 1, we have a much better second half of the season than we did the first half. That's promising. I know our opposition in the last 7 games isn't the easiest in the world, but look, if we finish 7th and we have 15 more points than we did last year, I think that's improvement. And it was with a completely different squad and a young squad. When you go back and look at how many players have changed year over year, it's actually mind-blowing how we've been able to pull this off. And I say that very tongue-in-cheek, pull this off, because it doesn't feel like we've pulled anything off of anybody. But it's somewhat remarkable considering we're playing with 2 completely different teams, and the average age of our players ex Thiago Silva is like 21 and a half. So if I'm looking forward, it's we've said this many, many, many times on this podcast, but I don't think anyone wants to play us in 3 years if we keep the same team intact and we continue our momentum. But going from 11th to 7th, improvement, points plus 15, improvement, no cups to no cups, call it a wash, but we've gone deep in cup runs. So, call it what you want. Somewhat disappointing. It would have been really, 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 really nice to have an FA Cup final or win. That would have been phenomenal for us I think it would have been no contest at that point. But I think Poch keeps his job. Not under any circumstances, meaning if he does lose the next 7, I think it's hard to keep his job, but I think he ends up keeping his job.
See, and I'm still on the fence. Well, not on the fence. I want him out. But if I'm the board in this hypothetical situation, he's got to finish in 7th or higher. There has to be European competition. Parker, you brought up last week about the Jordan Brand deal being on pause because we are not yet in Europe for next year. That's a lot of money. And we've seen the reporting came out this week in terms of PSR numbers and all that. We came in $3 million under our cap. So out of the 105 million pounds that you're allowed to lose over 3 years, we came in at 102. Keep in mind, we also sold a hotel for 78 million that counted in that. There needs to be European money.
Yeah.
Spent all that money. There needs to be European money. And if I'm Boli and Igbali, I'm looking at Pochettino and I'm saying, hey, you're in a cup semifinal. We gave you $150 million worth of left wingers. Why are you playing Conor Gallagher there? Hey, earlier in the year, you've got $120 million worth of left backs. Why are you playing a center back in his debut season with Chelsea there? There's just a lot of things where I don't really understand what Poch is doing. Hey, why haven't you picked a penalty taker? This has happened 3 times now already. In a league where maybe that happens once to a team. There's just a lot of things that Poch has not done well that has cost the team, cost the club, cost the shareholders. And Europe, I think, is his last saving grace. Unless there's been some kind of like option on his contract they've already extended. As far as I know, he's still on that 2-year deal. And so if he doesn't make Europe, then you can't have him coaching a bunch of young guys on a 1-year deal. He needs to be axed at that point.
I do agree with that logic of get rid of them or extend. Like, don't go into the year with a 1-year deal. I totally agree with that.
Yeah, my caveat would be if you're an 8th or lower, then there's no extension. But I agree. You can't go into preseason with a lame duck manager. All right. Well, boys, any closing thoughts on this wonderful Sunday evening?
My closing thought is hope is a dangerous thing with this team, because the second that you get hope, they find a way to rip it away from you, and it hurts worse.
Nico needs a new barber.
I'll leave you with one as well this week too. Arsenal's title hopes die on Tuesday.
Don't hate that.
I love it.
All right. Well, if you enjoyed what you listened to tonight, make sure to subscribe, rate, and review wherever you get your podcasts. Make sure to follow us on social media. You can follow us at Flag Down Pod. And on that note, it's been a wonderful Sunday. After listening to you guys, I'm glad I didn't get a chance to watch the game, but we'll reconvene after a win over Arsenal.
Later, boys.
Sounds good. Later.